This is 2022 China's GaoKao. It's the math problem 16. It's fill in the blank. It worth 5 points. But in my mind, this is way difficult than what 5 points is worth, right? So I think they probably, I think it requires a major effort to get the answer, at least in my experience. So even though conceptually is straightforward, but you need to do a lot of algebra. I feel bad for those poor students in China. They have to work through this and only for the 5 points. Imagine the whole test. All right. So here we're given an ellipse with eccentricity of 1/2, and we're saying that A, right, is the top vertex here. Yeah. Okay. So there's 9L passing through this, but it's perpendicular to AF. This is 90 degrees here, right? And we're given the D. We try to find the parameter of triangle ADE. Okay. Again, DE is a line passing through the focus point F1, and this line is perpendicular to F2. F2 is the other focal point. All right. So why don't you think about it to see if how many minutes it takes for you to get the answer for this 5-point problem in China's college entrance exam. All right, when you're ready, let's continue with the video. We need to recall that eccentricity by definition is kind of a measure how round is it ellipse, right? Is a value 0 to 1, 0 being is like a perfect circle, right? So here it's good to know that there's a relationship here, which is eccentricity. We know that is 1/2. This is given, and we know that C here is kind of 2C, which is the distance of the two focal points. And A and B are the major axes, right, of this eclipse here. We know that in our case, A is greater than B. All right, so if you have that, this 1/2 is kind of easy to do some algebra here. So there's 1 B squared over A squared is going to be 1/4, and B squared over A squared would equal 3/4, and we can also we know that A squared equal B squared plus C squared, I think, right? So with that, if we have C, right, we have C, and we want to express A and B in terms of C, right? So when you plug in here, this would be B squared is equal 3/4 of A squared, right, plus C squared, and then what you get is this is 1/4 of A squared would equal C squared, right? So in other words, A equal to C, right? And B in that case, because B equal square root of 3/2 times A, right? So it would be square root of 3 times C. So in other words, the equation here, we can rewrite the equation of the eclipse here is x squared over, right, A squared, which is 4C squared plus Y squared over 3C squared equal to 1. Yeah. So in our case, this is not drawn in scale. When you look at this, this whole thing, this triangle here is a regular triangle, okay? Because this is like 2A, right? The length is 2A, yeah? And here is whatever, let's say if the length is X, so it's, sorry, the X is probably wrong symbol here. Let's assume this is D, right? D. So d squared would equal c squared plus b squared, right? Equal 4c squared, right? So which means d equal 2c and equal a, right? So this is the whole thing. This is a, this is a, this is 2a, this is 2a, right? So now here, since, okay, first of all, we know that the triangle A, F1, F2 is regular, right? Regular triangle. And then in the regular triangle, if I have a perpendicular line, this perpendicular line here, right? So this is going to be the bisector of the angle, and this is equal to each other. So what we get, this is very important. Okay, so let me change the color here. Since this one, right, is perpendicular and is the bisector of the line here, so if you extend this line here, right, and then you have E and D, so AE must equal to, so AE must equal to EF2. Of course, here this rotation means the length, right, the segment length. And similarly, AD is equal DF2. Okay. So we are trying to get ADE parameter, right? So the parameter of triangle ADE is equal to the length of DE, this is the length of DE, plus AD, but AD equal DF2, right? AD equal DF2, and also equal what is called here, AE equal EF2, right? So this is EF2, right? So in other words, in this diagram, we are saying that the parameter is equal to this triangle here. Right? Why we're interested in this triangle? Because by definition here, the ellipse is the point where the sum to the two focal points are equal to a constant. What is the constant here? So you know that A F1 plus A F2, the segment length, is equal 4A. So that's constant is 4A in this case, right? So the size here, this is a regular triangle here. I'm going to draw it out, right? The side length is 2A. So now it's maybe too messy here. Let me erase that. Okay, so let's come back. So we need to find out the parameter, which is this segment here, this segment here, and this one, right? Yeah, you notice that this is the sum of E pointing to this focus point here, right? Here, and plus D to the focus point, right? So in other words, this is equal E to F1, F2, and F to F1, F2. By definition, on any points on the eclipse, you're going to have a constant sum to the focal point, and each one is equal to, here is kind of a 4A in this case, right? Sorry, this is earlier. This is wrong. This is not 2A. Is 4C here. Okay, I make a mistake earlier. All right. So here I got it wrong. This should be 2c, 2c, and 2c. Okay, because 2c equal to a, right? So the whole thing is actually this whole thing equal to a. Yeah. So in other words, size is equal a or 2c. Okay, so that is or equal 2a, right? So equal 2a plus 2a. So we know the parameter would be 4a. All right, so we're trying to find the parameter here, right? But what is a? We don't know, right? We need to find it out. But the equation for ellipse, we know that ellipse is x squared over 4c squared plus y squared over 3c squared equal to 1, right? And we know that since this one is a regular triangle, so this is actually 30 degrees here. So the DE, line DE has a property that the equation of line DE, because we try to find, we probably try to find the D and E, right? So line DE has a slope of tangent 30, so which is square root of 3 over 3. So let's figure it out. Let's figure out line DE, right? We know that the slope here is a tangent 30 degree, right? Remember, that's a regular triangle here. AFE is a regular triangle here. Yeah. So this is a 60 degrees bisector would be 30 degrees, right? And okay. And the C here, because it's passing through the, F1, the coordinate is negative C, y is 0, right? So this is the equation. Now, the 2 points, the x coordinate of 2 points would satisfy the equation by plugging this equation, right, into the equation here, x squared 4c squared plus y squared 3c squared equal to 1. All right, so a lot of algebra for the poor 5 points. I don't know why they're doing that. Okay, let's plug it in. Okay, so here y from here is now y squared would equal 1/3, right, over x squared plus 2c plus c squared, right? And and then you plug into this equation here, so what do we get? Let's plug in, right? So x squared over 4c squared plus 1/3, and then you divide by 3c squared, 1/3 of, let me see here, x squared plus 2c plus c squared, right? And equal to 1. So what kind of equation is this? Unit times 12, right? Or unit times 36 c squared. Let's do that. So I would have, get rid of fraction, right? So I would have 9c squared x squared plus, this would be 4. So I'm going to multiply MUL, multiply both sides on the 36c squared, right? 36 squared. So this is 9. Let me rewrite it. This equation is 9, yeah, x squared plus, and this would be okay, that'll be 4, right? 4 times x squared, right, plus 2c, 2cx, missing an x here, 2cx, okay, 2cx plus c squared equal 36c squared. All right, So let's further simplify this by combining this x squared. That would be let's continue here. That would be 13x squared, right? And this would be an 8cx, right? Plus 4, and then minus 36, because you want to move 36 to the left hand side. So this is minus 32c squared equal to 0. All right, great. So we got it. Okay. So we know that the parameter is 4a, and we try to find out what is a is. We're given that the ninth segment is DE is 6. We know that the D and E, the x coordinate satisfies this equation. There are two solutions to this equation, and those are the x coordinate of it. All right. So we rewrite the equation like this. This for the coordinate of D and E. Let me see. If the D9 is like this, if this is D, this is E. If this is x1, y1, right? x2, y2. We know that the length is 6, and we know this is k. Sorry, the slope, right? Slope is k. This is 30 degrees, right? 30 degrees. And if this is so what is the relationship of segment of DE? 6 equals the 9 segment of DE. I claim that if this is the difference, which is x1 minus x2 and D, and the distance between these two x, and this would be k, which is the slope, right, of x1 times x2, right? So, and then 6 would equal to square root of 1 plus k squared times absolute value of the difference, the distance between the two, right? So, and we know the parameter ADE is equal to 4a, right? Or, so here C is related to the A by saying that A is equal to C, right? So what is C here? We don't know, but we know this condition here. So let's plug in here. What is x1, x2? Here we need to use some algebra tricks, all right? And again, this is the reason why I say this 5 point is quite I think it's unfair to only give 5 points for this very complex problem, right? So here would be equal to this k is k squared is 1/3. The tangent 30 degrees square would be 1/3. So in other words, 3/4 square root, right? And this is square root of x1 minus x2 square, right? And let's rewrite it here as x1 plus x2 minus 4x1 x2. Okay, so that's very common tricks, right? X1 minus x2 square is equal to x1 plus x2 square minus this. Why are we doing this? Because we don't want to solve this complex equation use a quadratic formula. Rather, we want to use the fact that Vieta formula here, the sum of this is related to the coefficient, right? So this here, yeah. So from this equation, we know that x1 plus x2 equal negative 8/13. x1 times x2 would equal negative 32/13, right? So let's plug it in. So here, what we get is square root of 4/3 of the 6 equal times, okay? So here, there's a c here, there's a c square here, right? So this square is going to be 13 square, right? 13 square, and this will be 64, right? 64 and c square, right? And minus 4, and this is minus, 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 it will be plus, plus 13, yeah? And then this is a c square, right? This is c square. And then 4 times 32, 128, yeah? C square. So what you have is you can get 64 out of this and c out of this. So you're gonna get you got 4, you get 2 out of this. So this is 2 over square root of 3 times 64 c squared. It becomes 8c, right? And we take the positive value because this is absolute value, right? We take the positive here, and then times the square root of, you take 13 out, right? 13 out here, and then what you get is 64 c squared. This is 1, right? Plus you want 13 squared here. You want 13 times 128 is 64 times 2. You need to have 2 here, right? Okay, so what you get here is 27, right? So 27, right? This is 27, but is equal 3 square root of 3. So 3 square root of 3, right? So here square root of 3 cancels, right? And 2, 3, yeah, 3 and 2 and 6 cancels. This is equal to 1 now. And then 8c would equal 13, right? So 8c equal 13. But then the parameter here is 4a equal 8c. So the final answer is 13. The parameter is 13. That's the final answer. Oh, what a journey, right? So even though conceptually it's straightforward, but it requires a lot of careful calculation. If you make a mistake along the way, you're losing 5 points. All right, again, this is from China's GaoKao college entrance exam. I think they're asking too much from the students. Anyway, hope you enjoy the video and try to review the steps, make sure it makes sense for you, and hope that's useful. And thank you.